Have you ever looked at your bank account and thought, where the heck has all of my money gone? If you have done, then you are not alone. As a woman in her 20s who wants to retire in her early 30s, it's really important that I check regularly what my spending is looking like. So in today's video, I actually want to share with you 7 random things that you probably haven't thought of which I have stopped spending money on, and I will warn you, these things aren't your typical things like not buying coffee. And if you haven't met me before, my name is Dr. Yosa. I'm a doctor working in London who is also an investor, and this channel is about how you can use your 9 to 5 to create wealth. And if you haven't subscribed, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can see all of my latest uploads. The first one is loyalty schemes. Have you ever gone to a store and you're at the checkout and then they ask you, do you have a loyalty card? And when you say no, they will usually incentivize you to sign up, and if you do, you usually get points. One thing that I notice with the loyalty cards, in order to get points, you have to spend, and sometimes in order to get the most rewards, you need to spend a lot more money. And I noticed that sometimes I would go to the shop and buy something for £10, but because on the day they were offering double the amount of points, if you spent more than £20, I would end up buying items that I actually didn't need, just so I got the double points and met the £20 threshold. And this is a classic example of sunk cost fallacy. This is a psychological phenomenon where once you've invested time or effort into something, your brain keeps you to keep doing it so it doesn't feel like a waste of time. So once you get your loyalty card, once you have 5 points, you'll want to get it to 10 points or 15 points or 1,000 points. Otherwise, it's going to feel like a waste of time. But in order to get your 1,000 points, you're going to end up having to spend money which you may not have wanted to spend in the first place. So once I realized this, I actually stopped getting loyalty card points. But you're probably thinking, well, what happens to your points? Now, what I have is a credit card which offers me points for when I spend. So there's no obligation on how much I need to spend. I spend however much I would spend anyway, and for that normal spending, and then I can convert my points into whatever I want them to be. I can convert them into gift cards, I can convert them into airline miles, and this is something that I actually did with my trip to Thailand, and I'll insert a couple of clips here. I converted my American Express points into airline miles. It's also meant that my spending on a month-to-month basis doesn't change because I don't feel obligated to have to spend more to get additional points. 2, lottery tickets. I know that people win the lottery, and I have nothing against lottery tickets. However, statistically, you're more likely to be struck by lightning twice than win the lottery. And when you are buying lottery tickets, you can get sucked into something known as optimism bias. And optimism bias is when we overestimate the small chances of something happening because the outcome is emotionally charged. Rather than spending £5 a week on a lottery ticket, I would rather save that £5 and put it towards saving or investing, or putting it to something that actually makes me happy. And one thing I would recommend everyone doing is value-based spending. It's working out the things that actually make you happy when you spend money, and then identifying the things that don't move the needle for you and don't make you happy. And so actually not spending money on it doesn't change how you feel very much. 3, pets. And I know that this one is a little bit of a controversial one. Don't get me wrong, pets are beautiful. I love that you can get a lot of companionship from having pets, and they can become a really integral part of the family and can become a really integral part of your life. However, the average cost of having a pet in the UK ranges from £1,500 to £2,000 a year when you think about insurance, vet costs, food, bills, and just the overall maintenance of having a pet. So although I completely get the emotional aspect of having a pet, I would rather spend £2,000 a year putting that money towards my stocks and share ISA, or towards my pension, or towards my savings, and then when I'm in a better financial position, I can then decide to opt for a pet. And this concept isn't necessarily limited to pets. Whenever you're posed with taking on new responsibilities, it's really important that you think about the short-term impact of that new responsibility and the long-term impact of that responsibility, and whether or not saying yes is getting you closer to your financial goal or if it's pushing you further away. 4, cars on finance. I am the biggest car lover that you'll ever meet. However, As of right now, I will not be getting a car on finance. Paying £400, £500, £600, sometimes £800 a month on a car doesn't make sense to me. A car is not an asset, it is a liability. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket. A liability is something that takes money away from your pocket, and a car is a liability. If you think about it, you have to pay for the insurance, you have to pay for petrol, you have to think about maintenance, you have to think about random breakdowns depending on the kind of car that you have, and all the other additional costs of having a car. And so yes, the car itself may be costing you £700 a month, but by the time you factor in all of the other things I've mentioned, you could be paying £1,000 a month for a brand new car. That just doesn't make sense, because at the end of your term, the total amount of money you'd have paid for that car will not be equivalent to the value of the car at the end, because as you drive the car, as it gets older, as newer models are released, that car is going to continue to lose value. And car showrooms have been able to play on this by taking advantage of a psychological concept known as affordability fallacy. An affordability fallacy is when you're constantly reminded about how much something costs on a monthly basis, but not how much it costs as a whole. So rather than saying that this car is going to cost you £60,000 in 5 years, you'll be presented with the idea that the car will only cost £600 a month. So rather than getting a car on a monthly basis, I actually have an old car which I paid for in cash. It gets me from point A to point B. It's reliable. It doesn't cost me very much on a monthly basis. And on top of that, I don't have any monthly fees that I need to pay in association with the car. So by doing this, it's helped me get a lot closer to my financial goals. 5, shopping list. I never go to a store without a shopping list. Here's why. Whenever you go to a shop or you're scrolling online without a shopping list, your brain is making hundreds of micro decisions, and that mental fatigue can actually weaken your self-control and lead to something known as decision fatigue. And retailers know this. That's why you'll notice that the things that most people really need are placed at the depth of the stores, so you have to walk all the way around to the back, and then by the time you get to the front, they will put things that you could term as impulse items close to the checkout, like little sweet chewing gum, because they know that by the time you get to the checkout, your willpower is probably at its lowest and you just want to go home. And I noticed that whenever I shot to that shopping list and I was casually just walking up and down the store looking for the things that I felt I needed, I ended up overspending and buying things that I just didn't need, or buying things because they were on sale. Having a list makes my shopping a lot more efficient because I'm picking up the items that I only need, I'm spending less time in the store, and I'm minimizing how much micro decisions my brain needs to make before getting to the checkout. So actually, my willpower probably stays the same throughout my entire shop. So my advice to anyone is, when you are shopping, always have a shopping list with you and try and stick to it as much as possible, because when you overspend, you're taking money away from your future self and potentially pushing yourself away from your finance goals. So yeah guys, those are the 5 things that I do not buy. If you want to see the first parts of this video of the 7 other things that I don't buy in order to save money, I will link it here and I will also put it in the description box. And if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do so. Otherwise, I will see you in my next video. Bye!